How about let's publish our pages? We have 3 pages and we want to publish them on the web and make them publicly available. So to do that, we need to have a server. So we need to be able to store our files on a machine that specifically is a web server. And what web servers do is they store files and they wait for requests. And when a request comes, they return a file. So a request can come by typing in a URL, and it goes to the server finds the file that's specified by the URL, and it returns that file. So to get server space, the computer science department has provided some for every student in a CS class, and it's on a server called Icarus, and we're going to go ahead and use that. And so you already have space on that, and we need to figure out how to access your account. So if you go to weber.edu/cs, this is simply the computer science main page, and then you click on technical support and scroll down till you see the default login help, and then scroll down until you get the default login tool. And now what you can do is enter your first and last name, and I'm just going to use an example. So if your first name was Walter, you'd put Walter there, and if your last name was Callister, you'd put Callister there, and then you'd put your W number. Okay, and once you've entered that information, you click Submit, and it will come up and tell you what your passwords are. Now the one we want, you have accounts for MySQL and for the Athena's window cluster if you want to remotely log on to a Windows machine. But the one we're going to use is the Icarus server, which is a Linux machine. And once you put in your name, it will tell you what your username and password is. So it's your first 2 initials followed by the last 5 digits of your W number for your username. And then your password is your first name with the first letter capitalized followed by CS exclamation point. There is a video under to watch for this week that teaches you how to change this password, since this is everybody's follows this same pattern. Makes it not safe. All right, so we have our login information. Then we need to be able to move our files. So right now our files are on our own computers. So mine is on my computer, the files you've built are on your computer, and we need to be able to transfer those to this web server. So what we need is a file transfer protocol client. So that's an FTP client, file transfer protocol, with the acronym we use for that is FTP. So we need an FTP client. I'm going to demonstrate using CyberDuck, which is an FTP client that you can download for free. And I chose this tool because it supports several platforms. So there's a version for Windows, one for Mac, and one for Linux. So if you're using any of those platforms, you can use CyberDuck. So if you use another FTP client, there's lots of them out there. You're welcome to use another one if you'd like. It will need very similar information. So what we're going to do first is open a connection. And the first thing we need to do is change the protocol. So the default connection is Simple File Transfer Protocol, FTP, and Icarus does not allow that. It only allows SFTP. So it has to be, which is a more secure version of file transfer protocol, and it accesses port 22. So it has to be SFTP and go through port 22. Then you need to type in the server information, and the server name is icarus.cs.weber.edu. And then you put in your username, so whatever you looked it up, that username, right? And I'm going to use this one. And I've been here before, so it has my password. Notice you can't see it, but go ahead and type in your password as well. And then hit connect. And see, I've checked that safe password, and that's why it's there. And then you go ahead and click connect. This will bring you up. Notice it shows up here, home, / and my username. And then there's this public HTML folder. Well, it's important that you go inside this folder. Anything you upload outside this folder will not be available on the internet. So go ahead and double click so that you're inside the public HTML folder, and you'll see it up here. That now we're inside that public HTML folder. When you first start, it's going to be empty, and as you move pages there, it will fill up, and you can put different files and different folders up here. So let me show you both those things, how to upload a file and how to upload a folder. So first I'm just going to upload a file, so I can drag and drop. That's one way to upload, and there it starts to upload. Another way to upload a file is to go and find it. Once you get to the right folder, you just click on it and choose, and it can upload it that way. So we've got two of our files there. And so that's two different ways that you can upload. One more file I want to do, so I'm just going to simply drag it there and upload it. And then if you want to do an entire folder, you can do the same thing, right? You can just drag and drop the entire folder, and that will copy everything to it, including the folder and everything that's in it. So it will come using that same file structure that we had before. So now what we've got is we've got our 3 HTML files, then we have our resources folder. If we double click on those, we go inside and we see that it's uploaded all of the files that we had to be uploaded. So that's pretty easy. That's how you upload files to the Icarus web server. Another thing I can do is I can just simply say, hey, I want to do my entire solution, so whatever you've called your external folder, and you can drag that and it will upload everything, and you don't even have to do it one file at a time, but you can do the entire solution all at once. So now notice what I have. Inside the public HTML folder, I have this folder called solution. I open that by double clicking, and I've got the 3 HTML files, and then in resources I have all the image files. So a couple of ways to upload. Well, that's the first step, is to be able to get everything up there. The next thing we need to do is figure out the username or the URL to be able to find it. So let me show you the parts of the URL. So first comes the protocol, and we're using the http://protocol. And then comes the server name, and the server is Icarus, or this might be a domain name, right? And so the domain name for our web pages is icarus.cs.weber.edu, and that is just the hosting site. Okay, and that gets us just to Icarus. Now we want it to go to our account, and the way that we do that is you use that tilde key, and that's on your keyboard in the upper left hand side. You have to shift to get it, but get the tilde key, and then you want to put your username, and mine is DS65432. So you put your username there, and then slash. Now what this does is this gets us inside our public HTML file. So right now I'm going to get back there. So as soon as we type that in, we are actually inside our public HTML, and now we can tell it which file to open. So we can say go to distractions.html. So I'll type in this, distractions.html. So let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to go ahead and put it right in the browser window. And there it is. There's the published version. Now look, we have the same page open here, but look at the URL for this. The URL starts with file and then goes to the C drive. This is my local file structure that it goes to find it. Now this is my published one. It's saying it's at the Icarus, right? That's the domain name, and then here's the username starting with tilde. Notice that this is important, all of it's important, but notice that home is not part of it, and there has to be a tilde right here, and public HTML is not part of the URL. So remember those details, and then you put the file name, and that gets us to there. And then notice the relative ones again. Here we can click on it, and what's it doing? It's just looking where it is, and it's right here. It's looking for index.html, and it found it. All right, and if we click on this, it's looking from where it is, and it's right here, and it's able to find distractions. So our relative addresses work once we upload it without any change. We're able to find all of them. So Okay, so now they're published. Now, what about if we wanted to access one that's inside a folder? So instead, if I wanted to access this one that's in the solution folder, the way that the URL would be different is I would have to, before the file name, I would have to put any folders. So I would have to put solution because that's the folder name, and then ask for distractions.html. And if I do that, and then bring that over here and I put that in instead, notice everything else is the same, but I've added that folder, then it finds the one that's in that folder. It goes to my account inside my public HTML folder, goes into the solution folder and finds distractions.html there. So you can find it with a path, so as many, and you can put as many folders deep as you need to here. Another thing I want to show you, remember that we intentionally named one file index.html, and this allows us to leave off the file name. So if we put the domain name or the host, and then our account, and then whatever path is needed, and we don't put a .html file name, and we push enter, it will bring up that index.html file. Now notice it does that without the file name being part of the URL. And that's one of the reasons we can use that default one. And that way we just have to give them the path to our website, and we can do it without that. Now if we don't put a folder name on it, then it's just going to go straight to our public HTML folder. And there's our public HTML folder, and it will look for a default file name there. So let's go ahead and push enter there. And sure enough, we get that default file name. This time we're looking at this one that's directly in our public HTML. So that's how you compose a URL once that you upload it. So this is what you'll turn in. You'll just simply copy, paste, and then you can turn in the URL. And notice that when I copy paste it, that the HTTP shows up. So browsers hide this, but it's still part of it. So if you go ahead and capture it, it still gets pasted with it, and it's part of the URL. So once you've added all these updates to these 3 pages and published them, right, uploaded them to your account on Icarus, go ahead and compose your URL and submit that.